Okay, this is going to be our first stoichiometric example for working stoichiometric equations. And if you'll follow along with me, I have typed this up and will explain each step of the process along the way. Now, I will be working continued examples and posting them on the class website as well as working them in class. So if you're still struggling with stoichiometry or the steps of stoichiometry, please view these examples and come to class with specific concerns or suggestions that you may have. Okay. We're going to start off with the setup of our stoichiometric equation. Across the top here you have the formula. This is like the recipe for the chemical equation. You need to verify that your formula is balanced, and in this case, of course, it is. You have 3 magnesiums on both sides and 3 phosphates on both sides, or phosphoruses. And the first row that we're creating are the moles, and I put a little house around the mole to help remind myself that in this row we can move from side to side, okay? Because remember, in the Karate Kid, he paints the house side side. So for the moles, we can actually go from side to side in the conversion. So we can convert magnesium phosphide into a number of moles of magnesium, but we can only do that with things that show up in this row. Now, in the row underneath this is our fence, and that is our grams, liters, and particles. Now, we can only move up and down from this row. We can't actually move from side to side. So that will become very important when we start actually working a problem. But any number that you may have that is in grams, liters, or particles is going to go into this row. Now at the bottom we have what, if you wanted to make 30 grams of magnesium phosphide, how much magnesium would you need? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our number of grams of magnesium phosphide into the row with grams. That's our fence row. And this will allow us to see that we have 32 grams of this substance. So it's both in the column with magnesium phosphide and in the row with the fence, which is our grams, liters, or particles. Okay. Now, what would be very easy for us to do is simply go 30 grams of magnesium phosphide to 3 times that for the magnesium, but we cannot do that. We cannot go on the fence from side to side. So this is one of the reasons that we use the Karate Kid as an example. Of course, you don't want to paint the fence side side, you paint the fence up and down. So we're going to make sure to remember not to allow ourselves to go from grams to grams ever. Okay, so we get rid of those and see, of course, if we're on the fence, in the fence row, we can only go up and down. That means that we need to convert from grams into moles. So we find our molar mass, and the molar mass for magnesium phosphide is 134.9 grams per mole. And this allows us to make that molar conversion from grams into moles, and we have 0.222 moles of magnesium phosphide. Now that we're in the mole row, now we can start to move from side to side and use the ratios of our coefficients. Of course, we have a coefficient of 1 here. It's not there. It's invisible, but we do have a coefficient of 1 and then a coefficient of 3. Now we're making the conversion from magnesium phosphide to magnesium because we know how much magnesium phosphide we have. We want to know how much magnesium we need, and so we can actually go, if we want 0.22 moles of magnesium phosphide, how do we get to the amount of magnesium that we need? Well, you know that 3 moles of magnesium will make 1 mole of magnesium phosphide. So that means that we can actually multiply by 3, divide by 1, and get the number of moles of magnesium that we need. That's 0.666 moles of evil magnesium. And so you have 0.666 moles of magnesium. Now, we don't want to give the final answer in moles. Of course, the question didn't specify, but if the question had asked for how many moles of magnesium you need, you would be done because you have the answer. But we're assuming that we want to know how many grams of magnesium we need. So again, we need to convert from moles to grams. Just like we converted from grams to moles on the right, Now we're going to convert from moles to grams here in our magnesium column. And that will give us 16 grams of magnesium. And if you're like, wait, how did we know that? How did we find that? Of course, you do need to make sure that you go back to your mole conversion unit and review and refresh your memory that 0.666 moles of magnesium. Then you find your molar mass of magnesium by checking the periodic table. And that will give you this 16 grams of magnesium, which of course is your final answer. So in order to make 30 grams of magnesium phosphide, we would need 16 grams of magnesium. And that's the end of example number 1.